This is a rules video for my game 2200 Escaping Earth. In this game, you're trying to escape the Earth, and you're going to defeat your enemies and upgrade your ship to do so. So to print this game, it's a print and play that you can find on my website. You're going to print these cards double-sided. So it's going to have a bunch of pages on the rules print and play file, and you'll just print them and click print double-sided. You're going to want some opaque card sleeves. Now these are optional, but they're going to make the game a lot smoother. And you can see I've already sleeved the starting deck. You're going to want a miniature ship, or you could use any kind of token or whatever, but this one was really easy to 3D print, so you can use this small token there. And then you're just going to need to print this play mat here, which is 6 pieces of paper, and then I taped them on the back. And you'll need about 10 red cubes and 20 yellow cubes, roughly. And they can be any color, really. But anyway, yeah, that's all you'll need for this game. And to set up, you're going to take the 6 starter cards. So it's going to say starter on the bottom of the card. Now, there's 6 of them here. So you're going to take these 6 starter cards and put them right here in the deck zone. This is your deck. All right. And you'll want to sleeve them with your opaque card sleeves. Now, whenever you acquire new cards, you're going to sleeve them. And the reason you want to sleeve them is because most of the time you're going to be defeating enemies from one of the 3 zones. And they have different card backs. So this is actually a card you could eventually add. Well, this is a system type, so you couldn't add this to your deck, but if this was another type of card, once you defeat that enemy, it would be put in your deck, and that's why you want to sleeve it, so that you won't know, you won't be able to see the card back that you're drawing into. But if you don't have opaque card sleeves, you can draw cards from the bottom of your deck, or just not look at the top of your deck. Now, continuing with the setup, we're going to put these static cards. So we're just going to put them right there in the static supply. These 3 are actually starter cards too, but we can't use them yet because they're only usable with certain ships that you won't have unlocked on your first time playing this game. So you're just going to put it in this pile for all your reserved cards. Now, this is a legacy game, so what's going to be happening is as you run, do multiple runs and get deeper and deeper into these zones, you're going to be unlocking cards, and when you're not using them in your deck, you're going to be putting them in this reserve zone. So any cards that are in your collection but you're not currently using, you can put there. Now, what you're also going to do is you're going to want to set up these zones. Now, most cards in the game are zone cards, and you can see it's a zone card because it has this grid here, and it says Air 1 or something of that nature. So to start the game, you're starting in Zone 1, the weakest zone, and you're trying to work your way up to Zone 5, where the final boss is, and defeat them. But for now, you're just going to set up by placing Air 1 in the Air Zone. You're going to put the Space 1 zone cards in the Space Zone, and the Ground 1 cards in the Ground Zone. So let's pull those out too. All right. So now you've set up the zone piles, and you can put all the other cards to the side. Now, they are only going to be used when you defeat the boss on this zone. So once you beat the Ground 1 boss, you'll unlock the Ground 2 cards, and so on. So you won't be using them for a while until you beat those bosses. Now, there's also these 2 cards here that are just guides. They're also reprinted here on the player mat, so you can see them. Now, this is an important card. This is your ship card. You're going to put that over here, and you are going to basically take some trackers, essentially, and you're going to start at 3 health and 0 shield charge. Okay, so that is the setup. And then when you actually start your run, you're going to take your ship token and you're going to put it in one of these squares on any one of these zones. So you could put your ship token here, for example, or you could put it even there or there, whatever the case, and then you're ready to begin playing. So now we're going to go and talk about the turn structure. And right after you're done with your setup, and that's what that looks like right now, then you're going to start actually taking a turn. And for that, you can always refer to the player mat over here. There's a turn order. You're going to draw cards, first of all, equal to your ship's crew. So that's the first thing you do on each turn. For the wolf, your crew is 3, so you're just going to draw 3 cards. So you'll go to your deck, and you should shuffle it first, and then draw 3 cards to your hand, which I'm just going to place here. So let's just say that that's the hand, and you just drew those 3 cards. Okay, so that's all you need to do for the first part of every turn. The second part of every turn is the action phase. So you take the 3 cards in your hand and you play them. So let's go over some of the cards you could play. You could play this Charged Shields card. Now what this does is it increases your shield charge value by 1, and you can spend your shield charge to block damage. So that's what that does. So you could play that card and just get a shield charge. And you can play them in any order. So you could now play the speed move card. Now that gives you 2 move. So movement in this game is when you play a move card, you get that move for the entire turn, and you can spend that move. But this card gives you 2 move, for example. So on this turn, you could move twice. So here, a move would be moving to an adjacent square. So you could move your ship here to an adjacent square, or like that. And very interestingly, you can kind of imagine this as almost like a 3D movement game. So the ground is kind of connected to the air, and it's also connected to the space zone. So you can actually move from this square down to here, this square right there. Those 2 squares are connected because it's as if the space zone is on top of the air zone, and you can travel between them. So a legal move would be moving there, and that would cost 1 move, and then you could move over there, for example. So you can move around that way by spending your movement points. Now there are going to be other cards that just do things. So this one moves the top card of a zone back to the bottom. And I do want to show you some of the attack cards in this game. So here is the missile. And now attack cards in this game have a range. And a range is basically what spaces your ship can hit. And it's always the 9 squares in front of your ship. So this is the ship, and these are the 9 squares in front of the ship. So if you play the missile from your hand, you can target something in that square, or that square, because you see that the 9 squares in front of the ship, there's dots in that square, and that square, and that square. So you could hit that ship, and it would take 2 damage. Now for missiles hit 1 enemy, and lasers hit all enemies in that range. And so that is the difference between missiles and lasers. Now, as you go later into the game, so let's say we unlock some of these cards and add them to our deck. Okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Now, if it's not a dot but an arrow, then that is the space above or below that ship. So if you played the long-range missile, for example, you could actually hit that ship, or that space, that space, that space, that space, or that space, and so on for the ground zone, because it has that down arrow to signify that you can shoot under or below. Okay, so that covers basically your action phase. You're going to be playing your cards in your hand. You could play action cards, or just movement cards or attack cards. And then when you're done playing that card, you just discard it into the discard pile. Now, after your action phase, there's the counterattack phase. Now, in the counterattack phase, any enemies that are still alive are going to attack you, and you're going to lose 1 health per enemy. So if this enemy was still alive, then it would hit us, and we would lose 1 health. But actually, if you do defeat it, let's say we did play that missile, and we did kill that ship, then it does not do a counterattack So the best way to avoid counterattacks is just to defeat all the enemies on your zone. We're not in the space zone and we're not in the ground zone, so we're not going to worry about those enemies. Now, there are some special abilities. The ranged ability will allow an enemy in a neighboring zone to attack you. So you do have to be a little bit wary of that, but otherwise, the other zones are not going to interact with you. Now, after the counterattack phase, we're just going to go to the collect rewards phase, and that's where you're going to actually take the card if you have defeated all enemies on that card, which we have done for Air 1. And if we defeated the enemies on Ground 1, even though we're not on the Ground 1 zone, we would clear that zone too. We're just going to pick up this card and look at it. Okay, and now you have to make a decision. Do you like this card, and do you want to add it to your deck? And if you do, you have to put it in the shop zone. Okay, so that is what you would do if you like this card. Now, if you don't like this card, you don't want to buy it, you're going to add it to your gold zone. And that's going to go right here and be 1 gold. And the reason you want gold is because most cards that you would buy cost some gold. So you can't put every card that you want in the shop. Maybe sometimes you'll have a card that you kind of want, but you need the gold to buy the card that you really, really want. So you have to make those kinds of decisions in the clearing zone phase. And that's basically it. You just take the card and you either put it in the shop or you put it in your gold pile. And yeah, you're going to then put your ship back where it was. So it would go down here. And yeah, that's that. So let's just say we added that to the shop. After that, you're going to go ahead and go to the buy stuff phase. So this is where you could buy items from the shop for your gold. You can also use the shop ability. You can spend 2 gold to look through any zone and move a card to the top of that zone deck. So if we didn't like this, we could spend 2 gold, look through it, and pull a different card to the top of that zone. And then lastly, you're going to clean up, which is discarding all cards in your hand, and then you're ready for the next turn, where you'll draw 3 cards from your deck again. And if there's no cards in your deck, you'll shuffle the discard pile back into the deck and then draw from there. Now let's go over actually buying a card. So let's say we defeated this guy and we defeated this guy and we added both of them to our gold pile. So this is back through to the buy stuff phase, but when you buy stuff, you're going to take your gold that you're spending, in this case 2 gold, and then you're going to put it in the spent gold pile. You'll take this card, and now this is a system card, so system card is going to be reserved when you buy it, but normally if it's not a system card, it will go directly into your discard pile. But either way, if you see here, it says permanent here. This is a card that is going to stay in your deck for the rest of time, basically. Essentially, even if you lose this run and you play a second game of this, because it says permanent on here, once it enters your collection, it's going to be something you can actually include in your deck, or in this case, it's a system card, so you can include it into your systems at the start of your next run. So you kind of start off as a pretty weak player. Your cards are relatively weak. These are all, you know, pretty mediocre cards, but as you add more cards to your collection, you'll sleeve them with your opaque card sleeve and add them to your deck. And then let's say we did that and we acquired some more cards. So you can see that this card, Powerful Engines, is 4 move, which is twice as good as speed. So let's say we added that to our collection. And now I'm going to have to sleeve this card, which is going to be difficult to do with one hand, but yeah, let's just go ahead and sleeve this card. So we sleeved this card and added it to our collection, and then let's say we lost because we ran into the boss and the boss just defeated us. So when you lose the game, you're going to go ahead and reset everything. So, well, the system card would shouldn't be there anyway, but let's say it entered our collection, so we'll still keep that around. But any spent gold, any cards that are still in the shop, any cards that were in your gold pile, they're all going to return to the decks. You'll shuffle them up, and then you'll start a new run. And at the start of your new run, you're going to look at your minimum deck size, which is 6 for this ship. And now we have more than 6 cards in our collection. We have 7 cards in our collection. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically you're going to basically choose which cards to include in your deck for this new run. And you could include all 7 cards, but generally you might want to thin your deck so it's more consistent. So you could remove the speed card, for example. It's going to go in the reserve pile, and then these 6 cards would make up your deck. And that way, you can try out different strategies over every different run. If you wanted to focus on using missiles, for example, you could mostly include missiles in your deck, and then the very next run have a completely different starting deck. So every single run, you can decide to completely change your deck up as you acquire more and more cards. There's a couple more rules, but that covers most of it. Yeah, I guess... if you have more questions, they'll be in the rulebook, which you can also print, and that will cover all the other side rules that I haven't really gone over here for the sake of keeping this video sort of short. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you try this game, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'm eager to hear your thoughts on this game. It is still in development, so any feedback you have might actually end up going into the final version of this game. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you next time.